Remember Saro-Wiwa began with a single sentence by the Czech writer Milan Kundera. The struggle of humanity against power is the struggle of memory against forgetting. For those less familiar with the background, in the 1990s, Nigerian writer and activist Ken Saro-Wiwa led the largest ever non-violent protests against a multinational oil company ever seen. Hundreds of thousands of minority Ogoni people protested at the environmental and social devastation of their homeland. They were so successful that they forced Shell to cease operating in Ogoni land in 1993. But a brutal crackdown followed as Shell and the Nigerian military government collaborated to suppress the Ogoni movement. On November 10th, 1995, Ken Saro-Wiwa and 8 of his Ogoni colleagues were executed following a sham trial on trumped-up murder charges. The devastating cost of oil that we use every day has never been that clear.
These kinds of allegations are not made lightly. Summary execution, crimes against humanity, torture, extrajudicial killing, cruel, unusual treatment and punishment. And these are the allegations that we will be putting forth very extensive and compelling evidence against Shell.
Waiting is a place for you. Patient is a healing pool. Silent in the corner of your mind, waiting to remind you of how you are divine. A healing pool is that part in your heart where in cupped hands tears of joy collect, where compassion nestles, where the riot in your head must cease and settle.
Well, the acts of destruction of property, of intimidation, of violence, of shooting and beating of villagers were committed by Nigerian military, yes, but on Shell's behalf, at Shell's request. Often Shell made these requests specifying that they wanted to get security forces in Ogoni, preferably the mobile police, which many of you know are referred to in Ogoni and in Nigeria as the kill and go police. They requested of their Nigerian partners that they send in the mobile police force, and Shell provided substantial assistance to these soldiers.
The mist of lonely gray is really only a moment of rest for your spirit that day, where the silence allows your soul to have its say. And at the bottom of a healing pool is a bed of dreams, with a duvet stuffed thick with the untainted wishes of our children, and afloat, barely breaking the surface tension, are crystal lanterns, lit by the blood, the sweat, and the tears of our ancestors, rendering us humble through their struggle, and we gain strength from the legacy, wisdom from the prophecy, and it's a sobering remedy, making you high. Step into your healing pool, as cool as the wind beneath the beating wing.
their outside counsel, participated in the bribery of witnesses to give false testimony in support of the summary executions of Ken Saro-Wiwa and his 8 colleagues. Bribery to give false testimony by 2 key witnesses. These witnesses later recanted that testimony, but of course, it was too late.
Shell must take responsibility for human rights abuses in Nigeria. It must stop flaring gas in Nigeria and halt its acceleration of global climate change. Ken and his colleagues would have settled for no less.
All right. Wahala is a Yoruba word for trouble in Nigeria, yeah? So let me tell you a little bit about wahala. Wahala is something we don't want. It's all good, it's all good. Yeah. Waiting they happen for this world where we day. Wahala just they come like where. Some people won't make wahala come find them. Me, I just they mind my own. Jeje, we want better, we no want suffer. Life is hard enough, why make things tougher?
And if you look at gas flaring itself, which has been taking place since the 1960s in the Niger Delta, it's not just the impact it has from greenhouse gas emissions, it's also the noxious substances resulting from gas flaring, including things like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and many other carcinogenic substances. And it's also the cause of acid rain. It's polluted creeks and streams, it's damaged vegetation, and it's even corroded the roofs of people's houses. And if you look at the history, it's very interesting, Shell's record. The first attempt to end flaring was in 1969, when the government gave a 5-year deadline. The oil companies did nothing to respond. That date was then moved to 1979. Again, nothing. It was then moved to 1984 as a date for zero flaring. Again, nothing. Oil companies were supposed to have stopped all gas flaring by the end of 2008 or face hefty fines. But the deadline passed without any companies being punished.
Similar to women in the rain, and when it rains it pours, closed doors surround him. He sees the locks but no keys. He's the mouse with no cheese. The dog with fleas barking up wrong trees, fighting with family, friends and enemies. The world is acting treacherous, that's why he feels impetuous. Oppressed by Babylon, that's why he needs an exodus. In the wilderness, loneliness wants to get next to us. In the wilderness, Bush wants to get crushed with us. His wife keeps on getting on his nerves. She keeps on putting all her mouth in his words. More mouths to feed, and the price of rice is making his blood pressure rise and rise. Things fall apart like Chinua Achebe. Father, all this wahala's just driving him crazy. Hey, I don't want wahala.